The desert had swallowed the sun hours ago, and the sky above Nevada stretched in a black sheet without stars. The road beneath my tires vibrated like something alive. Every mile sign felt more meaningless than the last. I had lost signal an hour earlier, and the GPS screen froze on an endless straight line, as if refusing to redraw the world ahead of me. The fuel light had turned red and stayed that way long enough to make my palms sweat. I kept driving because there was nothing else to do. Then, finally, through the shimmering heat left behind by the day, I saw a crooked metal sign, half rust, half faded paint, desert shade, motel vacancy. The letters tilted like they were trying to slide off the surface. The motel sat alone, like it had been forgotten by the rest of the country. 3 low buildings forming a horseshoe around a cracked courtyard. The neon above the office flickered, even though it clearly had no electricity. The wind carried nothing, not even the sound of insects. It was the kind of silence that made you think the world had stopped breathing. I parked near the office, stepped out, and felt the dry heat drifting up from the ground. The office door hung loosely on one hinge. I pushed it inside, smelled of dust, old paper, metal vents softly humming. Though they weren't connected to anything, the counter had a brass bell, but when I tapped it, nothing happened. On the wall behind the counter hung a wooden rack with room keys. Only one hook was empty, number 7. I checked the logbook lying open. The last entry was dated 1996. The name beside it was smudged, unreadable. I should have left right then, but the darkness outside felt heavier than the emptiness inside, so I took a key from the rack, any key actually. But before my fingers touched a tag, a sound came from the hallway, a soft dragging like footsteps half hiding themselves. I froze, listened. It stopped. I stepped back outside the courtyard. Lights turned on with a sudden buzz, white beams pouring out. Despite the cables being severed near the base, I looked around. No one was there, but every door except room 7 was closed. Room 7 was slightly open, the curtain inside shifting like someone had just walked past. I hesitated, then walked toward it, the gravel under my boots scraping too loudly. The air inside room 7 felt colder than the desert night bed, unmade sheets, twisted like someone had left in a hurry. The lamp beside it glowed dimly, even though the plug dangled from the socket. I stepped further. A soft dripping echoed from the bathroom. Though I had seen earlier that the motel had no water service, I approached slowly. The bathroom door closed by itself with a faint click. I stood there frozen. Then the sound changed from dripping to breathing, slow, steady. I reached for the doorknob, hand shaking. The knob was warm, as if touched by someone seconds ago. I pulled the door open. The bathroom was empty except the mirror fogged with thick steam, a word drawn on its surface: stay. I stepped back, heart pounding hard. Something moved behind me. I turned, but nothing was there yet for a moment. I felt a presence brushing past my arm. I rushed out into the courtyard. The lights flickered again, then stabilized. Wind rose, carrying dust in thin spirals across the ground. Someone had left a cigarette still burning near room 8, glowing red with fresh embers. I looked around again. The motel remained silent, a dead place holding breath. I walked back into the office, grabbed the logbook. Pages were blank, except the last where someone had pressed down so hard. The letters left grooves, as if writing had become a desperate act. I didn't want to read it. darkness in the corners stretched like it was leaning toward me. I walked out and headed toward the parking lot, but the car wouldn't start. Headlights flickered weakly, then died. The steering wheel felt colder than it should. I saw my reflection in the glass, but the outlines seemed off, like the darkness had crept between me and the image. I looked away. Fast, someone walked across the courtyard. Silhouette, tall, thin, slowing near room 7. I called out, "Hey, do you live here?" No response. The figure slipped into the room without touching the door. I ran there, threw the door open. The room was empty, bed untouched, air. Still, I looked down, saw a key on the floor, room key 7, but it looked older, scratched with initials. RM7. I picked it up. It felt hot enough to sting my skin. I hurried back toward the office, but stopped at the window because someone stood inside. Tall, wearing a faded motel uniform, hands clasped behind his back. Staring at the logbook, the lights flickered. Around him, I whispered, "Sir," but when he turned, the face disappeared like static vanishing from a screen. I opened the door. The office was empty. The air felt thicker than before, pressing on my lungs. I looked at the old staff photograph on the wall, 8 workers lined up in front of the motel, smiling awkwardly. The man in the center wore the same uniform I had seen seconds ago, but his eyes looked too sharp, too aware, almost recent, as if waiting for someone behind me. I glanced at the office mirror for a moment. I saw him standing behind me, then gone, vanished. When I turned around outside, the wind died again. I tried room 7 once more. The door was wide open when I stepped inside. The room lit itself without power. On the bed, someone sat hunched, shoulders shaking, long hair covering the face. I asked softly, "Are you all right?" The figure didn't answer. I stepped closer. The figure lifted its head. There was no face, only a smooth, pale blur. The lamp shattered, plunging me into darkness. A whisper filled the room. "Stay." The door slammed shut behind me. I slammed into it, tried forcing it open, but the knob twisted itself, locked. The floor groaned, the ceiling creaked. The entire room trembled, as if something beneath the motel was waking. The walls bulged faintly, pushing in and out like breathing. A low hum vibrated through the bed frame. I dropped to the ground, covering my ears, but the sound wasn't in my ears. It was inside me, around me, through me. The hum grew sharper, like words forming inside. The vibration come back. I tried to stand, but the floor cracked. White light spilled through as if another room lay below one, with no gravity. No silence, only pulsing brightness. The whole room snapped dark again. I found myself standing in the office logbook, open, my name freshly written in neat letters. Arrival date tonight, departure blank, untouched. The lights in the parking lot flared, footsteps crunched outside. I rushed out. A sheriff truck pulled in, dust rising. A tall man stepped out, flashlight in hand. He shined it at me. "What are you doing here?" he said. "This place is condemned. No one stays here." I swallowed, trying to steady my breath. "My car broke down," I said. "I thought someone was here." He looked at the motel buildings, face pale. "You talked to someone?" His tone shifted, careful, quiet. I nodded. He lowered the flashlight. "Do you know what this place is?" he asked. I didn't answer. He sighed under his breath. "Years ago, before they shut it down, people went missing from here, guests, workers. They were never found." He paused, looking behind me toward room 7. That room was the last one they investigated. Then he whispered, "You weren't supposed to open it." I felt the wind shift, cold blowing against my back. Sheriff stepped forward, about to say something else, when his flashlight flickered. A woman appeared behind him, face glowing, pale hair falling over her shoulders. Her hand rose, gently touching the sheriff's neck. He froze, eyes widening. She whispered something into his ear. I couldn't hear the words. Then the bright light enveloped him. The flashlight dropped, spinning in circles. The sheriff was gone, completely gone, like he had been erased from the spot. The motel went silent again. I backed away, trembling, the air heavier than before. I looked to the parking lot. My car lights turned on by themselves, doors locked, engine revved on its own. The silhouette in the driver's seat looked like me, but not me. Posture matching mine, face hidden in shadow. I stumbled backward. Entered the office again, the logbook now closed, page curled on its own. A new date appeared next to my name, the ink forming slowly, departure date, 11/05/1995. I froze. That was decades before I was even born. The mirrors in the room darkened, turned reflective, then I saw it. The motel wasn't in ruins. In the reflection, the building looked new. Neon bright guests milling around staff, moving keys, handing them out. My reflection smiled, but it wasn't me. It was the man from the photograph, wearing my face, wearing my outline. I stepped back. The scene shattered like glass. The office doors opened, all the room doors burst open at once, light spilling out. The hum started again, this time loud, rising from under the ground. The motel was waking, claiming something, claiming me. I ran outside, but the desert was gone. Only darkness stretched in every direction. A void swallowing the horizon. I turned back, all the lights aligned, spelling a single word across every open doorway. Stay. The ground vibrated. Dust rising in spirals, pulling at my legs, gripping tighter. I fell to my knees, unable to breathe. The woman without a face stood at the center of the courtyard. She raised her hand, voice echoing not in the air, but in my skull. This place chose you. Her form flickered, her whisper sharper. The motel never closes. The lights exploded. I felt the ground pull me down, like sinking into deep water. Air ripped from my chest, vision dissolving into static, then into white, then into nothing. When I opened my eyes, the sun was rising warm on my skin. My car sat in front of me, looking untouched. Engine silent. I stood, walked toward it, confused. The desert looked normal, like the night had never existed. I got into the car. Turned the key, nothing happened. The windshield reflected the motel behind me. Except the motel wasn't ruined. It stood perfectly clean, freshly painted, neon buzzing, vacancy sign glowing, but the smaller sign beneath didn't say vacancy anymore. It said occupied.